Why do elected officials not representing their constituents? Imagine voting in an election and feeling like your voice doesn't really count. You might wonder why the person you chose isn't making decisions that match what you want. This question gets to the heart of how democracy works in real life. In a perfect world, elected officials would always listen to their voters and act in their best interests. But in reality, many factors can cause a disconnect. One big reason is how political systems are set up. For example, some voting systems favor the majority and ignore minority groups. This means that even if a large number of people want a certain policy, it might not get passed if it's not popular enough with the majority. Another factor is how districts are drawn. Sometimes, boundaries are manipulated to favor one party over another. This practice is called gerrymandering. It can make it easier for certain candidates to win elections and less likely for officials to respond to their actual constituents' needs. Interest groups and lobbyists also play a role. These organizations representing specific industries or causes can have a lot of influence on politicians. When officials prioritize these organized groups, they might overlook the wishes of everyday voters. This is part of what's called pluralism, where many different groups compete for influence. Public engagement is another key piece. If people don't pay attention to politics or don't vote, officials might not feel pressured to listen to them. When citizens are informed and active, representatives are more likely to follow their preferences. But if the public is disengaged or unaware, officials might make decisions based on party lines or special interests instead. Political parties also matter. They help organize candidates and set policies, but sometimes they push officials to follow party discipline rather than what their voters want. This can lead to representatives voting along party lines even if it doesn't match their constituents' views. Global influences add another layer. International trade, foreign policies, and global economic trends can shape decisions that don't directly reflect local needs. Officials often have to balance local interests with international pressures, which can create gaps between what voters want and what officials do. Descriptive representation is about officials sharing traits with their voters, like race or gender. But just because they look like their constituents doesn't mean they always support their interests. Substantive representation is about actively advocating for those interests, which doesn't always happen. To improve this situation, liberals believe in strengthening democratic institutions. This means fairer voting rules, reducing the influence of money in politics, and encouraging more people to get involved. When citizens are more engaged and informed, officials are more likely to listen and respond. Of course, perfect representation isn't easy in a large and diverse society. Officials have to make tough choices and sometimes act against popular opinion for the greater good. The goal is to create a system where people have real opportunities to influence government and hold their leaders accountable. So, many reasons explain why elected officials don't always representing their constituents perfectly. It's about how institutions are designed, who influences politicians, how engaged the public is, and the complexities of modern governance. The best way forward is to keep working on democratic practices that make government more open, responsive, and accountable to everyone.